I am curious, what book are you reading right now? Or books do you have on Audible?
Oh my gosh. I always have like a pile of books that are in the queue. And my most favorite book for the longest time was All the Light We Cannot See. And let me know where I should be looking also.
No, you're perfect. Great.
Um
Tell me, say
love
that,
that.
say the name of the book again.
The One of my favorite books has always been, or in the past 5 years since it came out, was All the Light We Cannot See. And it was just so beautifully written, and it was really visually rich. And this book that I'm reading now, The Overstory, oh my gosh, it's that and more. It's amazing how this author can make such beauty out of a few words. It blows me away. And
Mm.
the story's pretty heart-wrenching. It's about trees, and it's about the fight to save our old growth forests. And it's fiction, but it's 10 different stories of people, and I'm towards the end, and they're all starting to converge together, but they started all over the world. And it's just so beautifully written, and it's heart-wrenching, and it's so good. It's so good.
Well, I'm curious, what was it about the book that made you pick it up? What were you curious about? Good
Because
cover, great title, a friend
no,
recommended it?
I had heard of it, but I didn't know anything about it. And uh, I was at one of our local bookstores. There's like two local bookstores, and I read the back of it. It was about trees, and I love the woods. I love getting in the mountains, and I thought, oh, I'll try it. So yeah, just because it was about trees.
That's great. I know I'm a sucker for trees as well. There's something about the beauty of that you can put the roots, you put the roots in the soil, and that doesn't mean that that's the only, like they can still expand. I think for some people who are so afraid of getting stuck, trees are like the ultimate stuck, and yet they're not because
Yeah,
they grow. Like
yeah.
that's the beauty of the roots is that's the foundation and it lets them go. And they're just, I love all their fun shapes and what happens to them in the environment. So I'll look at that book for sure.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
fantastic.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
I
Knowing
only
that
read
we,
at night,
oh,
so I'm like always excited to go read at night. So yeah.
oh, that's great, especially now.
Mhm.
I'm going to jump in, Mary, really quick and just kind of do my own talking a little bit here. My name is Amy Magyar, and I own From Within Coaching, which is a coaching collaborative of many different kinds of coaches. Today is a chance for Mary McClements, one of our coaches at From Within, um, who's really focused on resiliency coaching, to share a little bit about, for her, I wouldn't call them tips, but just what's happening for her right now, and just give us both a chance to connect. We've been talking about for the last couple of weeks the new C word, and or I should say the other C word, which is connection, commitment, collaboration, connection, community, um, compassion, all of those things. So today is really about a chance for myself and Mary to just have a chat. Normally we would get together every week, and we're not able to do that in person, so we get to do that today. Um, from Within, one of the things that we really subscribe to is the idea that we coach what we know. And Mary's had so many life-changing experiences, and she uses those every day to expand and grow both herself and her clients. What you'll hear a little bit is she has so many stories. Some are great, some are really awful, um, but they don't define her. I think the thing that I love about you, Mary, is that they more lift you up. Um,
Mm.
Mary is, what I know about you is that you are super proud of the 3 different countries that you've lived in, your expansive family of friends all over the world, and as sort of the diverse background that you have experience-wise and all the talents and strengths that you bring. Um,
Thanks.
One of the reasons I brought Mary in, to those that are watching, is at the end of the day, she reminds herself to be kind to herself. And if that's not what coaching's about, I don't know what is. And by helping change the language of what's happening in our clients' heads, they can change the language of their lives, which ultimately changes their lives. So I'm really excited to have Mary McClements sit with me today. And just, I've got a couple questions for you. Hopefully they're not too scary, Mary, but it's just a chance for us to chat in a world right now that is changing. You ready for me?
I'm ready for you.
Awesome.
Always.
I think during the last 2 weeks, to say that the world has changed is an understatement. But I'm curious, what for you, Mary? What have you learned about yourself during this time period of change?
To be honest, I don't know if I've learned anything new, but I've been reminded of a lot of things that are important to me.
Yeah,
Um, I've been reminded, I have two teenagers and they both work at restaurants, and their schedules for the past year have been alternating. So we've only had Sunday nights to have dinner together, because one child is at the restaurant Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The
yeah, yeah,
other
yeah, yeah.
child is at a different restaurant Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And I really just coveted those Sunday nights. And now my kids live with me full time, and now I get them all of the time. And we do dinner together about 5 nights a week. And so I'm just reminded how much I crave that and appreciate that, especially because they're going to be going off doing their own thing in the next year or so. So that has been a reminder for me. Getting out into the woods and getting into the mountains feeds me like nothing else. And so reminding myself to get out as much as possible. I actually don't even really need to remind myself. It's just something that I do. And I feel even more thankful now for where I live. I can walk out my back door and be on trails. And so I'm just being reminded that that's so important to me.
Wait, do
Um,
you think, just out of curiosity, why is it that we forget that? I mean, we know it, but it's
mm,
almost like in times like this, we have to be reminded that this is when we go back to the earth and go back to the woods and go back, like, I hate the idea that we have to be reminded, maybe not all the time, but I think we just get going and busy and we just sort of forget
yeah.
how grounding it can be.
Right. And I think there's so many distractions. I mean, seriously, I could be alone in my house for weeks on end and it really doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Um, because I've, camped for weeks by myself, but, we have so many distractions and we have so many things that get stuck in our head, and I got to do this and I got to do that. And, this kind of to-do list that's a mile long, and, I'm quarantined, so I'm going to, do all these things. And I think it's really just slowing down, and we forget that we can slow down and we don't have to be go, go, go all the time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's been a really great reminder how important the outside world is to me. Also, I feel just fortunate about my friends, not only close to me, but that ones that are, in Australia. And I guess the other thing, maybe I did learn, this is something I learned about myself. About 2 years ago, my son did something naughty. I don't even remember what it was. Maybe, actually, I think it was 3 years ago. And his punishment was to help me strip wallpaper in one of our bathrooms.
That
We
is
ended up having,
punishment. That
yeah,
is punishment. Yeah.
we ended up having like the best time. It was awesome. But the bathroom has sat like that for almost 3 years. And so what I learned is that it really does take a pandemic for me to paint my bathroom. So yeah, I've learned that,
Uh,
yes, I can procrastinate. So
I have no doubt that the sales of certain videos and audios of tidying and
yeah,
getting things done have increased in the past couple of weeks, and I think
yeah,
will probably continue as people, are faced with their surroundings and what's around them, and
yeah.
so yeah.
Right. If I have to stare at that red wall one more second, I'm going to lose my mind. So let's paint
You
it.
know, Mary, I think what's so great is that I think sometimes people think coaching and coaches are so like we have got it figured out. We know how to get stuff done and we have got it all figured out. And I think you've just given us a sense of like, yeah, no, we're human beings too. And there's stuff
Yeah.
that we don't like to do either.
Mhm.
But that, I think part of it is sort of the awareness. just
Absolutely.
of I'm absolutely intentionally not painting that bathroom, and I know that, and it's okay, and I can laugh at myself about that, versus sort of being unaware of that. So thank you for just helping the folks listening to this remembering that we're human too.
Keeping it real.
Yeah, yeah. We just, I think the beauty about coaching is, and I think why you have a coach, why I have a coach is just like our clients. We don't always see our blind spots. It's really easy
Mhm.
to see other people's blind spots, and really, and I think that's the beauty of coaching is that we can help our clients become aware. But we still need that too because we can't see, a 360 view of ourselves. So
Right. And
I think it's
sometimes,
pretty.
yeah, sometimes I think it's a matter of even changing that language. I had a client a couple of weeks ago say, I absolutely know that I get excited about something and I don't shine the flashlight in the dark corners. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's just so, like, that was so visually appealing to me. So now I'm like, okay, where am I not shining my flashlight?
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And even, even if you don't have the solution or the answer to the why is that, why are you not, or where are you not shining that flashlight? Just the awareness that you are sometimes is a step in the
Absolutely.
right direction. And that's, sometimes having to sit with that for a little bit. That's
Hmm.
great language. I love it. I love it. The a lot of a lot of what you coach is resiliency. um, people that have people that have been challenged by their lives, challenged by situation currently or in the past, things that are coming at them. And I'm so grateful that you are here to help folks that come through from within to really look at their own resiliency. We were talking before about, you can't teach resiliency, but I think each one of us has grit inside of us, and I think we're going to prove it to ourselves. Each one of us in the next couple of weeks of how we show up and get through this. But for you personally,
Hmm.
what is there a tip um, around resiliency that's helping you navigate your life right now that may help others be reminded of
Hmm.
how to use that for themselves and for their own resiliency?
Um, yeah, I bring in a couple things. I remind myself a lot when I'm going through something difficult, whether I used to do triathlons years ago,
Oh wow.
10 years ago, 12 years ago. And they were really hard. And, childbirth is really hard. And, you know, dealing with pain that your own children are going through is really hard. And I tend to just remind myself, like, what's going on right now is really hard. But I try to remind myself that it's temporary. Even though the world is completely different now than it was 2 weeks ago, it's the feeling that so many people have right now is temporary. And I think there's going to be a residual backlash, but it's not going to last forever. Amy, you know that I also work with, I'm a victim advocate, and I work with people who have been victims of crime. And when we first start talking to victims after they've been victimized, kind of the groundwork is that, we say, we let them know that we're sorry that this has happened to them. And we let them know that it's not their fault. And we really listen with empathy and support. Um, and we validate their feelings. And so I kind of go through that for myself. I think us humans have this uncanny ability to blame ourselves for the things that absolutely we had, we should never blame ourselves for.
Yeah.
So I let myself know that, like, I'm really sorry that this is happening around the world. I'm sorry this is happening to my senior in high school. I'm sorry this is happening to,
Mhm.
it's causing anxiety for so many people. And I kind of put out to the world, like, I'm like, I feel you. I'm sorry. Um, and it's not anyone's fault. And really, I try to give myself a lot of empathy. I find I kind of sway the other way where, I, of course, I'm being really cautious, and my kids are being very cautious, and we've been in our home. Um, but I'm not so upset about this. I'm okay with what's going on, like what, that we're having to kind of self quarantine. And then I start to go into well, what's wrong with me? Why aren't I freaking out? Why? And
Hmm.
then just really, um, supporting myself and recognizing myself and being okay with all of my emotions. Cause I do, clearly I have emotions about this, but, being kind to myself and, um, yeah, really just being okay and accepting whatever it is I'm feeling. And it's,
And at the end of the day, right, that the being kind to yourself of, y- you didn't create this. I think for the first time for many of us, there's no shame around what we're going through, asking for help,
mhm,
where maybe we felt that before, or what did we do to create this?
mhm,
Um, I think it's such a different time, and yet how hard we can be on ourselves, as
mhm.
if we created this, as if we've
Right,
caused this.
right. Like I
So
should be doing this, I should be doing that. How could, yeah,
I love you saying, be kind to yourself.
yeah.
Um,
I
I,
think another piece, Amy, is, for years, and I'm not over it yet. Um, I I was really, really angry. I mean, horribly angry towards a couple people in my life, and I didn't want to feel angry, so I told myself I shouldn't feel angry, and I tried to stomp it down, and I tried to get rid of it. I tried to eradicate it. I tried not to let it bubble up and um, at some point I just realized, wait a second, it's okay. I can feel anger. I'm not a bad person because I feel anger. And giving myself the freedom to feel anger really started to help me like dissipate that. And it was just the acceptance of an emotion and recognizing it that really helped me start moving through that
well,
anger.
anger's information, right? So
Yeah.
feeling anger gives us a chance to become aware and to, just like you said, to process. But if we keep trying to keep it in, then we're not going to understand what it is, why we're angry. And so we're not going to be able to get through it. Because if we
Hmm.
just keep thinking I'm not supposed to feel, and I think, you know, I I struggle with anger personally in terms of just what's the right amount of anger and the not. Because when I was a little girl, I think I showed up a little bit too angry. So my MO is don't show a lot of anger, and I think that that's gotten me in trouble because what it's basically saying is, Amy, don't feel. And what
Hmm.
I'm hearing is you saying feel. Don't act out the anger, or don't put it onto somebody else in terms of when you're angry, yelling and screaming. It's not what I heard, but what I heard is more feel it, allow yourself to understand it, and you don't want it to be your best friend, but it'll work itself through if you allow it in.
Hmm.
And it doesn't
Hmm.
make you a bad person for feeling it, or of that. So that's
Right.
amazing. Um, all I've been thinking about of the past couple weeks is how many books are going to come out of this time and our, and I think what's interesting about this is that every one of us is going through this. It's not a part of the United States or a part of the country or a certain demographic, or it's the world is going through this. Is the number of books that are going to come out around people's, what did they do with their time, what did they learn, how did they not only survive coronavirus physically, but then it's the mental side, and all the stories of love and kindness and the things that we're seeing. um,
Amazing.
I think there's going to be so much that we'll be able to go back and see. If, let's say, if you were writing a book right now, um, let's say it's 2 years from now, 3 years from now, um, what would you want in your book to say to the younger you about 2020? Would there be, I'm not saying advice, because coaches, we don't give advice, but what would you share with that younger self, that 2020 Mary McClements versus the 2023?
Hmm. It's a really good question. It's a hard question.
I know we're so fresh in it. We're in it right now. We're in the
Yeah.
heart of it.
Yeah, I mean, going back to what you were saying about this world, it's a world event. I agree with that. And I think this is, it's a time where there was one of my dogs. It's a time, it's not just this massive global phenomenon. And we're part of this, world community. It's also such a time where we're so little. We're in our homes, we're with our families, or not. We're not. You know, maybe we live alone, but it's this kind of switch back and forth between, oh my gosh, I'm little, I'm solo, I'm alone, we're alone, to I have a global community that is going through this. So yeah, I've been thinking about those two. What would I say to myself, my future self, my younger self? um Something that my dad always said growing up. My dad is the quintessential storyteller, and I'm pretty darn sure it's why I love stories so much. But he has always had great quotes. His parents were immigrants, and he's always had these amazing one-liners. And one of his one-liners is, "Never let a good crisis go to waste."
Mm.
And like, do something with the crisis at hand. Doesn't have to be right now, but what are you going to get from it? What are you going to learn from it? What are you going to glean from it?
Yeah.
And I guess I would tell my future self to just really keep that in mind, and that it's an opportunity for growth, um, and maybe to get on that a little bit quicker, because I know that I've been saying that, I've been asking myself that, um, but I haven't really acted on it yet, and I will.
Yeah.
But yeah, really good question.
Mary, if I might,
Yeah.
the the thing I think that's interesting is action as coaches. We awareness, action, we love those words. I think at a time like this, one of the things that really strikes me is that we are all grieving. um and every day we're going through the grief cycle again and again and again, because every day there's new news. And I think what's interesting is, kind of coming back around to getting into the trees, is
Mm,
we're grieving, and yet we're being asked to continue working. And if you've ever lost someone, or really gone through a grief cycle, traditionally you get to pause a little bit,
right.
to maybe stop work for a week or two, and deal with funeral arrangements or things like that. But it's interesting because human beings are grieving right now. They're grieving the fear of death, actual death, um, uh, economic fear. There's just so much: the fear of losing jobs, the fear of losing your job,
Mm,
actually having lost it. And we just keep going through this, and yet we haven't been. I don't know that we realize that we need to actually pause. And I love you saying one of the things that you've been doing is getting out into the woods, getting out,
mhm.
pausing for a second, not maybe not being completely, I think, connected. We talk about human beings want to be connected right now, and I think one of the ways people are doing that is staying close to their TV. And yet what we know is that's not actually giving them a chance to pause. It's not actually giving them a chance to absorb and to process. And what I'm hearing from you is take action, but also allow yourself to process and
Yes,
pause. And
yes. And yeah, and I'm going to answer your question again. So I'm
great.
going to pretend that you asked it again. Megan's going to edit this piece. Um, what I think I would tell my younger self, and I say this when I'm in coaching classes, or in a group of students, or teaching a workshop, um, is practicing the pause. And I want to say that I got that, or I heard that somewhere, maybe from Pema Chodron or another Buddhist teacher. Um, but instead of, I tend to want to, like, keep the conversation going, and I'm excited to bounce back and forth with people. And sometimes I just need to practice the pause. And I need to remind myself that a lot, not just in conversation, but in my daily life, with my children, with, whatever the circumstance might be, practicing the pause. And often that just opens up a space for listening and for people to be able to share.
Wow. 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 I have been on the other side of that, when you do practice the pause and the space that you've given me at times to process something. You've asked me a really provocative question. And so, um, the beauty of having you at From Within is that I think we can be that for each other, but I'm hoping that future clients for you get to benefit from that pause, because you do it do it, and you do it so beautifully and give people space to be. And I think the beauty of the pause too, is that it allows people right at that moment to feel, to be, and not that they have to stay in that. That's, they want to make a change or they want to get through that. But if you can't ground yourself, pause, breathe, create that foundation, whatever the language is that you want to use, how can you move forward? And yet I think we wind up holding our breath and trying to, move forward really quickly without that pause.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love it. Mary, I'm so glad. I'm so glad for the time today. This whole experience is so bittersweet, because I am hopeful we do get to look back and say, this is a time that human beings had a chance to remember how important connection was. As one of my Clifton strengths is connection, and how important that is for me. And I know for you, this is a time, you're finding fuel connecting with others. And I'm curious. One last question, as I'm kind of curious for you. We've both been coaching during this time, in supporting people. What has coaching others helped you? How has it helped you?
Mhm. Well, honestly, it's that pausing piece. I mean, the past couple of weeks, I have been so incredibly busy, and I'm shocked. I'm working from home. The days go so fast.
Mm.
Every day at 6, I'm like, where did the day go? What have I done? But I've just been busy, busy, busy with Zoom calls and connecting with people and doing coaching and victim advocacy work. And so when I get an hour, 50 minutes or an hour with somebody to focus on them, oh my God, what a gift. It's such a gift. And it's back to that practicing the pause. It's a nice 1 hour long pause. Yeah, it gets me out of my head, my four walls, whatever it might be. It's really a lovely gift. And I'm finding that that's the same for other people as well, people who are being coached. I get to just focus on me for this hour, and I get to, be asked questions that right now I never would have thought of asking myself. So yeah, it's a gift both ways. I'm so thankful for it.
I am so thankful that you just said that. I just let out the biggest sigh when you reminded me. um, it is a chance for clients who are at home, navigating working at home, navigating not working, navigating having children at the home, trying to figure out how to move on, when can they move on, all these things of, this is the one thing that they have that they can do for themselves, and how
Mhm.
important, how even more important that is right now to help move them forward. Because we think that this is hard right now. I think where we're going to be challenged is what happens after,
Mhm.
with how do we move forward in this new world that has been created post corona, how we work, how we communicate. And I just thank you for reminding me that it's a gift. And for us, I think it's a gift for us to be able to coach, but it really is a gift for our clients to have that chance to pause and to look at what's really happening for them. Um, Mary, I'm gonna just looking at the time. Oh, I'm a little bit over. Let me just do this. I wanna thank you so much for being a part of From Within Coaching as one of our resiliency coaches. Your your diverse background, your experience. I couldn't think of having um, anyone better to be a resilience coach for From Within because of what you bring, your experiences, your positivity, your openness, you show up in such this wonderful way of allowing people to just be and their stories, because so many stories are full of shame and fear and all of that, and you just show up as, okay, so here we are, and how will we move forward? And I'm just, you do that so gracefully and graciously, and I'm just really excited that you're a part of From Within and that you bring that to From Within clients. And I think, kind of thinking about resiliency coaching, you're not teaching people to be resilient. You're helping them see that they already are, and tapping into reminding themselves of that and building on that. That's what coaches do. We build on what's already there
Yeah.
and what's working, and your strengths, and the individual strengths. And I think you just do that in such a beautiful way. So I'm so grateful to have you here
Thank
as a
you.
coach at From Within, and I'm so glad that we are going to have a chance to talk today and just share a little bit about what's happening, and connect. So thank you.
You are so
Dot,
welcome. And I
dot,
am.
dot, 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 dot. Megan's going to put that at the top. Maybe she'll decide which one she wants to do, front, back, whatever. Okay, awesome. Mary, if you, what is one, I'm just going to ask you, what is one takeaway from our time today? It could be a word, it could be a thought you had, it could be just something that you want to share with those that are going to have a chance to listen to this. What would you want? What would you want to share your takeaway with our time today with others?
Hmm. Boy, just one thing. I guess, the word honor comes to mind.
Oh,
Um, I'm honored to be a part of From Within Coaching. I'm honored to be a coach. I'm honored to work with people. Um, I just honor is the word right now. But there's so many other takeaways. Just deep, deep appreciation. This time to connect. You know, um, yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love
I
it.
got to think about that one.
No, that's we're honored to have you on the team. We're honored to have you as one of our coaches. I'm honored to have you as a friend. So thank you for this. And I will we'll see you in social media. We will see you in your blogs. And Mary McClements, resiliency coach From Within Coaching. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Oh my gosh, I'm honored.
Thank you.